And hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SaaS Growth Academy. We are pleased to have Mark Williams Cook here, founder at Also Asked. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here in our interview series. Mark, can you tell us more about your SaaS, about your company? How did your story start?
Sure. So, for those that haven't encountered it before, Also Asked is a question and intent research tool. What it does is it's an online platform. You can type in kind of any topic, any question, any brand name, and it will get live data from Google, from their People Also Asked data, showing you the next nearest intent questions that people have about that topic. So this came about because I'm actually a director of a SEO agency, and the People Also Asked data that we mine with Also Asked is really valuable in terms of everything we do. So a lot of what we do is around understanding what customers, what consumers, what searchers want, what their intent is when they do something. So a lot of the work comes down to when we're helping people with their websites, they're asking, what should we write here? What should be included in this article, on this page, on this content? And apart from all of the other sources that you have for that data, like talking to kind of marketing teams, sales teams, internal knowledge, this is particularly helpful because it shows you what Google is expecting. So Google knows when someone is asking this, they're likely to ask these questions. So it's a really great kind of starting point for that. The SaaS itself was founded because we essentially had some like shadow IT. And if your listeners haven't heard that term before, it's essentially when there isn't a piece of software to do a task, so you kind of botch one together. There wasn't a good tool to actually get this data from Google because it's quite tricky to get. So we built a little, very hard to use command line tool for our team to use. And it occurred to me to use this as a SaaS when I was at a conference, at an SEO conference. And as just part of the presentation, I showed that we used this data and we had a script to get this data. And I had so many questions after the conference about, can I have that script? Where did you get that? How does it work? And it hadn't occurred to me that people weren't doing this automatically. So that's when I was like, okay, we could make this into a web-based tool that's easy to use. We don't need programming knowledge or be comfortable with command line to use it. So that's kind of how that idea was born.
Yeah, oftentimes we don't realize how useful some of our skills are before people actually want to have them as well. And how long did it take for you to? Okay, you got the idea. People asked you to have all that information. How long did it take you for your SaaS to launch? So how long did it take you for you to get from zero to MVP?
So 0 to minimum viable product was really fast. This was probably from when I went back and was like, hey, we should make this into a SaaS, was like 12 weeks. We had a website up and running. To to get from MVP to, and by MVP I mean kind of demonstration of the technology that it could be done, and that people kind of wanted it. I don't mean MVP in a way that we built something that could scale, because that on the other end of the scale took way longer than I had ever expected. So we launched the alpha, which was the, hey, here you go, try this. It was completely free, put it online in November 2019. We didn't launch the paid version until March 2022. So it took over 2 years of development to get it to a stage where we had all the bases covered. It was reliable enough. And I think actually that did us well, because pretty much accidentally I had two phases there. One where it was a free tool. There was always the intention to make it a paid tool. And the kind of proposition was, this is in testing, give us your feedback, use it for free. We're going to see how people use it. And of course, people love free stuff. So a lot of the initial grassroots marketing was done just sharing it because it was a free tool. And then when we did actually get around to integrating all the features we wanted, and working out pricing, when we did launch, we already had like a large base of people that wanted to use it. We added new features, and in the end, we made the decision to make it a freemium tool. So the people who had been using it for free, they could still, to some extent, come and use it for free. It wasn't financially viable to run for free. Some people have real trouble understanding that, but it wasn't obviously financially, viable to run it as it was for free, because it was costing, in the deep 4 figures a month to run in costs at one point, and we weren't getting any revenue from it. So that's kind of how we got there. So it was about 2 years, I'd say, to get from something that worked to something we could actually sell as a SaaS.
Yeah, and when you say the customers that got in for free in the beginning, you said that you introduced like paid options. They could still use the software for free to some extent. What does that mean? Did you have a lot of churn because of that? Did people like just stop using your service, or did they like it so much that they continue paying?
Yeah, so the freemium model means you can go to the website and you can just do a search as you used to be able to. You don't even need to make an account. And you get a limited amount. It's like 90 searches a month, 3 a day for free. We capped that our end, because the searches basically cost us per search. So we work out essentially what we can give, what's viable to give for free. In terms of churn and how it affected people, I was really happily surprised. I mean, we hit a 5-figure MRR within a few weeks of that transition. Yes, we had 1 or 2 people who were very angry that something that was free was now charged, but they're never going to be your customers at the end of the day. So the pricing, I mean, started at $15, and it's a monthly thing. You can cancel any time. So it's for the audience it was originally targeted at. That's not a high cost for the service they're providing. We did a whole bunch of surveying before we launched as well, just asking people, because we looked at several different pricing strategies, but we asked people as well, what would you pay for this? Which is always an interesting question to ask people, because people generally, with anything new, people don't understand the value until they're using it. It's no different from when, even basics now, like when washing machines were first launched, everyone thought they were way too expensive because nobody had used one before and they didn't understand the value. Now it's accepted that they're worth what they're charged for. So I just wanted some data points though, and I wanted to compare that to what our costs were to actually run the tool, and if those married up.
Yeah, so you would advise someone that is just starting to go with the same model you went with? I mean, the premium model, it seems it worked great for you. If you are confident, I mean, in your product, then that seems like a way to go, right?
Yeah, so I'll always be very honest in that, although I've run a few businesses, this is my first SaaS tool. And I have to be aware that what has worked well for us may not work well for other people. We've had some unique circumstances. So the things I think that were important, that were connected to that early success, were we were solving a problem that we were facing ourselves, meaning we had a very good understanding of the problem and the audience. So we basically didn't need any research there. And hand in hand with that came that I'm very well connected to the audience of to our customers. I already have relationships with kind of hundreds of them. So in terms of if you were making a SaaS maybe and going into a new market, that pricing strategy, that approach may be more difficult for you. I mean, advice certainly, if you can get that early testing and early adoption by running, if you can run it for free, even for a open beta period, I would definitely do that again, because the feedback we got from that was invaluable in terms of what people found important about the tool, how often they were using it, what they wanted to see. all of that was data that we built into the final product in terms of features as well. And actually, we got some of I think our best features just from people suggesting things that I hadn't even come up with yet. And we still got more in the pipeline from, again, people feeding back on that.
Yeah, and since you already told me that your product or service had like really big interest even before you started, did you have much need in marketing your product, or and how did you do it? I mean, you definitely did some marketing, and coming from your background, your SEO background, I suppose what's the answer, but can you tell us more about your the marketing channels you use and what's performing the best?
Yeah, sure. So again, so Allstars is bootstrap, so we're self-funded. So this actually makes a lot of decisions really easy because you don't have much money to spend. So it's just like you do the next kind of, most simple, cheapest thing. Now, um, the channel I'd say that got us the channels that got us the most success early on was probably Twitter. Um, Again, I would say it's probably unique to the digital marketing, especially SEO industry, because the SEO industry is very heavily on Twitter. It's kind of the main platform that's used. And LinkedIn as well, to an extent, using videos on LinkedIn to show people the tool. What actually turned out to be the most effective form of marketing, though, was, and this was when we discovered we had this good product market fit, which was after people found out about it, the tools started appearing in people's presentation decks at conferences to use, and it started appearing in people's training. And without paying anything, I was having people show it to 2,000 people in the industry on a massive screen at a conference and say, use this tool, which was, the best kind of marketing we could get. We have subsequently tried kind of more traditional acquisition marketing, like various bits of like paid acquisition. And it's worked to an extent, but like all paid acquisition, especially anything through Google, it's very expensive. It's a very expensive way to do things from a cold start. And the further you go out from your core audience, the more expensive it becomes, because you need to educate them more about what it is and the features and the benefits. We have an affiliate scheme as well. That's been fairly successful with the right people, again, where we just offer them a lifetime commission. So again, the only other thing we've done actually as well is we've sponsored a few communities. So there's a group called Women in Tech SEO, which we're an annual sponsor for. And again, for me, that's not necessarily okay, how many signups did we get for this sponsorship? It's a longer term thing about brand values and alignment of I like that group, I support it, I know who's in it, they're up and coming in the industry, and we want to support them. And if they can just feel good about our brand, that's fine with me. So there's a few longer term things I've done there which I think pay off, but they're a lot harder to measure. And that's, I think, where people can get trapped, especially with VC or investment money, is the short term cost acquisition and sometimes neglecting the longer term branding position.
Yeah, definitely many smaller businesses don't focus that much on getting that brand recognition value early on. They usually go for the best and like best return on investment. So yeah, that's a good thing that you're doing. And you just mentioned that you mentioned the product market fit. Can you tell us some more about? When did you know that you achieved it? How did you know it? And what made you realize that your SaaS is the hit?
Yeah, so I guess it was the two milestones for me were I had because we have the agency, I had resources to get the tool built. We're actually only a team. There's only a team of 3 people that work on AutoAsk that do everything between them, and only one of those is full time. The other 2, including myself, kind of work on it part time. And because we kept the investment minimal, I didn't do or get my hopes up too much in terms of projections, because it's very difficult to get any kind of accurate forecast on things like what is the addressable size of your market, what do we think the uptake will be. Again, when you're bootstrapped, it's like we could spend lots of time and money researching this, or we could just pour that into building the product and then kind of see what happens. Again, not necessarily optimal advice for everyone, but it's what we did. And I think there's two watershed moments for me where I was like, I think we've done a good job here, which was when we hit that 5-figure MRR within a few weeks, because that was a milestone for me. I was like, if we can get here, because it's a very small team, and the overheads are fairly low, like I'll be really happy with that. And we got there quite quickly, and it's been from then just slowly creeping up, which has been great. And the second moment, like I said earlier, was when I started seeing photos. People were tagging me in on Twitter of photos of a screenshot of Also Asked on the main stage of Brighton SEO, which is like one of the biggest SEO conferences in the world, in the main auditorium, this like 50-foot screen or whatever. And I was like, well, that's brilliant. Like, I haven't asked anyone to do that, haven't paid them. They've got hold of the tool, they've used it, they've decided it's so good they want to tell a whole room full of people about it. And then that effect obviously snowballs, and then I started seeing it crop up more and more. So those are the two moments. I think we cracked something, and I'm hoping we've got a couple more of them to come, because we've just finished building our API, which means we can now integrate with other SaaS platforms that are a lot larger than us, and that's nobody else has got that capability to do that with this data yet. So I'm hoping once we get those deals done, that will be another kind of different segment that we have got a fit for.
Yeah, looking forward to those new milestones, definitely. And I want to ask you, you just said that you grew really fast. You achieved some great numbers in just a few weeks. Can you tell us, did you have any struggles? Did you have any challenges in growing, or even when starting the business?
Yeah, all sorts. So I guess for me, it was understanding or marketing us to customers outside of the core industry that I'm in and the people that know me. So there's a very obvious use case. As I said, we're fixing our own problem for people in SEO that do what I do. However, there's probably there is a larger market there for anyone who does content online. Anyone that does content online will find this tool very helpful. However, there are lots of different keyword tools of different sizes, of different prices, offering a huge confusing array of features. So my challenge was, after that initial, we have our first few hundred paid users who are all people in my industry. It was a challenge to how do I effectively communicate what we do succinctly and differentiate us from other tools, because we were different. So this wasn't a case where, with some products, you're like, how can we cut this to make us sound maybe a bit more different? It's legitimately, we use different data to, at the time, any other tool. The difficulty we had was there was very big tools such as Answer the Public, which is owned by Neil Patel now, that produce a graph of questions that look really similar to ours, but they're actually completely different data, and they're used for two totally different kind of things. Answer the Public is great for researching what topics to write about, whereas we are then the data for what to actually write about when you've picked the topic. They offer two different granularities of data. However, it was very difficult to communicate that. And I spent a lot of time literally one-to-one on social media, because we were mentioned a lot of the time. And then people saying, oh no, I just use Answer the Public for this, or another tool that looked really similar. So I had to start kind of journaling those objections, if you want to call them that. And then I would produce little short videos saying, okay, there's regularly confusion about this tool and us. Here are the differences. And it wasn't like we're better than this tool. It was, they're legitimately different. Here's what to use that tool for. Here's what to use us for. And then in some cases, I was actually contacting the other tool and getting them to help promote that video, because I'm I'm saying, look, this will help you as well, because I'm highlighting the features of what you do and just explaining how we work together. So that was a big challenge, and we've put together from that kind of a whole little help hub with some YouTube videos trying to cover those main bases. And the other small thing I do is when I see someone else doing that for me, so a customer maybe explains it, I always send them something like a mug or a notebook or just something nice to be like, thank you for spreading this advice for me. And that's nice, because then you start to build. I really like those relationships you can build with people that they don't expect you to be able to do as a SaaS.
Yeah, I like how active you are in the community. I mean, that really connects you with people, and it's not just some other software or some other founder. You're actually an active member of the community, so I think that definitely makes a difference.
I hope
And
so.
yeah, coming to, I have to ask you, what do you think made your SaaS success? I mean, you are getting recognized, you're growing. What do you think is did you do to deserve that?
I think some things that have made it a success are just by chance. I can't take credit for all those. You have to be in the right place at the right time sometimes, which we were. But I think the most important thing from talking to other SaaS owners, because I'm in a few groups where I talk to people now that run SaaS tools, I realized I didn't have to do it alone. I can actually learn from other people, a bit like we're doing here, right? And the differences were the SaaS tools that I've seen that have been successful very quickly are normally people that are solving problems they encounter themselves or understand really well. Because you make a very good product very quickly. The tools that I've seen sometimes struggle are people that are researching other people's problems and trying to fix them, and sometimes not getting it quite right. And I've even seen this with, without mentioning any names, in our industry, there are some very large SaaS tools that started quite small and have grown to these behemoth monolith tools now. And a lot of the people building the features aren't actually working in the industry. So sometimes they add new features that, as part of the industry, I think, well, that's not particularly helpful. And I speak to other people and they're like, no, I don't know why they added that. So I think at least at the beginning, that's an advantage. And, if you've got a problem that you're facing every day and you can't find a solution for it, that's maybe a place to start thinking about, can you build a solution for it? The other important thing, I think, is actually marketing. It kind of came free for me in that by profession, I have worked in marketing for 20 years. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I know that I almost don't know I know anymore, that I was doing automatically. But again, I spoke probably 3 weeks ago to a SaaS founder who, their solution, they were first to market. They have the best technology. And over the last couple of years, they're now getting outstripped by competitors who, in fairness, have an inferior product with fewer features, but much better marketing, because those people were primarily engineers and they did an amazing job on the product. And they did a kind of build it and they will come approach, which does work in some scenarios, especially when you are first to market. But then when you inevitably get people copying you, which you will, if you have a good SaaS tool, it just will happen. That's fine. But if they spend money on marketing and then they maybe start, the solution becomes known and people are Googling it, and then they're appearing above you in searches, or they're spending money advertising on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, that slowly starts to erode your share of voice. So I think they're two things that I think are important, that really understanding the problem you're solving, whether it's your problem, or spending more time maybe than you think understanding the problem. And secondly, if you're not involved in marketing, get someone who can help you with a marketing strategy. It does cost money. It does cost investment, whether it's the person, whatever, but you will get a return if it's done correctly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, having just a good product is not enough. One question: if you were to start all over again, what would you do differently? Is there anything that you would change?
Yeah, that's a really difficult question because as I said, because we were self-funded, I basically didn't have to make many decisions. Um, we focused almost all of our kind of investment on the product, on making the best possible product. And as I say, you know, we've done the marketing internally because we've got that. Personally, I don't I don't think we would have done anything differently in terms of funding because I'm pleased we've got to a finished product now and we're kind of sole owners. I don't always think that's possible, but I'm kind of pleased that we got there. I guess if I were to do it again, and this is with the advantage of hindsight, I would probably just push a little or have a bit more confidence in the idea early on because I was quite risk adverse for the whole build. Even when looking back now, I did that first conference and I had this huge amount of, how do we get that? Can we have that? I should have taken that more as a, okay, let's do this faster and get there because, essentially I've wasted, it took us 2 years to get to a product. If we pushed hard and I didn't, we'd got more developers and stuff on it, we probably could have done it in half that time and been even ahead of where we are now. So, if you've got a good idea, I think actually making it happen is great, but there is always a time pressure. And certainly you're on the clock once it's launched because it didn't occur to me. We launched a product, which was great. And I was like, this is brilliant. No one else does this. And of course, immediately people were starting to build tools that were doing the same thing. And I was kind of naively a bit shocked when competitors came out that not only copied what we did, but they looked really similar. They had the same features, same kind of pricing, all the stuff that had taken us ages to work out was just there. So I guess it would be now knowing that will definitely come. Speed is of the essence. I think we've done fairly well with that, but I guess, yeah, pushing stuff out with a little bit more urgency. There's a balance. There is again a balance though of I'm pleased we didn't push anything else out before it was finished because we've had a really, really good track record for like stability of our SaaS tool. We've had pretty much no downtime. We've had the occasional bug and error and updates, but that as well was important for us, our reputation and the long-term thing of I don't want people to look at our tool and think it's good, but it's kind of flaky. I want that to be our competitors and it to be, well, if you just want it to work, use them. So I guess just having a little bit more faith in the idea.
Okay, so wrapping our interview up, do you have any advice that you would like to leave our community with? People who are just starting their SaaS journeys.
Yeah, I guess it would just come back to a couple of principles, which is things we covered, I guess, which is make sure you do have a kind of marketing and launch plan. If it isn't your own problem you're solving, do more research than you think you need to do, because there is that kind of Dunning-Kruger effect almost of you see a problem and you think, oh, that's an easy problem to solve. I've never encountered a problem that was as easy to solve as I originally thought it was when I saw it. Even this one, that's why it did take us so long, because every time there was these hidden challenges that came up. So yeah, researching the problem, and I guess having faith in your idea, because so many people again I speak to with kind of ideas for SaaS stuff, ideas are cheap. Everyone's got ideas. If you haven't built it, someone probably won't even bother copying your idea because 99.9% people that have ideas don't do anything with them. So actually getting something built and going out there is an option. And then, yeah, depending what your kind of funding route is, if you're in funding, I guess people tend to be more in like this stealth mode because they want to protect the investment and they're trying to delay the time that competitors can appear. If you are self-funded and smaller, you can go for what we did, which was essentially release it, but release it for free because again, if you're not making any money, you kind of haven't proven the case. So it's harder for other people to get investment to do the same thing. It's like, can we do what Autoask is doing? We need £1 million to do it. How much are they making? Well, nothing at the moment, but is a hard sell. So yeah, they're the three things I think: marketing, understanding the problem, and actually just building something, which sounds silly, but again, I speak to lots of people with cool ideas, but they never actually built anything.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for this inspirational story. I hope everyone can learn something. I for sure did. Thank you once again for taking a part in our interview series, and see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks a lot. All the best.